You got to let them see you in the trenches with your team. You should be the hardest working person in that room. If you're going to do something, choose to do it with all you got. And if you want a hardworking team, be a hardworking leader.
Matt Clarke, those are your words. Good to see you, President and COO of Churchill Mortgage. How are you, buddy?
Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm really excited about this conversation. You've written a book, Hope in the Grind. I have it here. Not only do I have it, but I have a lot of books. Very few of them have a note from the author, and I appreciate you taking the minute to send this book to me and also write a sweet note. So yes. Thank you for that.
It's my pleasure, Greg. You're making a difference in our industry for a lot of people. I appreciate you just being on the show.
Well, I'm trying to, and it's great to have you here. Let's take a look at Churchill. Let's just set the table and talk a little business. Then we'll get into the fun stuff, right? Because although the mortgage business is fun, it certainly is not without its challenges and hasn't been over the last couple of years. And we'll touch on that. This is the last 12 months. You guys are just under $2 billion. That's a tremendous number. So congratulations on that. This is over the last 12 months. If I looked at a 14-month period, you'd be well over 2 billion. We're in that tricky gap right now, right? Where we take January and February from both years and it sort of sucks the numbers out. But when you look at this and you look at how far the company has come since you joined in August of 2003, what are your thoughts? Are you satisfied? Is this enough? Or do you want to get bigger and hit a bigger number? What drives you?
You know what, Greg, that's a great question. I think all too often we target numbers for the purpose of numbers. One of the things that I'm responsible for is the fact that we're an employee-owned company. Our employees own 100% of Churchill. And so while volume generally leads to profits and increased in stock price, my focus is growing our stock price so that all of the employees that work for us have an opportunity to have something of real value when they retire.
Let's unpack that. Are you talking about an ESOP?
Yeah, we're an ESOP. We've been an ESOP now for 13 years.
I would love to have a conversation about ESOPs and just the mechanics of it, because you hear all kinds of things. Like if I'm talking to a recruit about coming to our company and they're looking at us or a company that has an ESOP, I'm on the side of the table that doesn't have an ESOP. Right. You're on the side of the table that does have an ESOP. And so I'm curious to know how you weave that into the benefits of coming to Churchill.
Well, I've always believed that if you own something, you take better care of it. And so one of the unique values that I get with Churchill being an ESOP is our employees, our teammates that go to work, that grind every day to bring value to their clients and the company. They have a certain sense of pride and ownership that they want to do a good job. They'll be less wasteful with money. They'll be more thoughtful about the risks that we take. And all in all, I believe that they run it better because they want to see their share price continue to grow. And so the nice part is that we're not trying to earn a bunch of money for an owner to take money out. We're not trying to earn a bunch of money for an investor to, have whatever return that they require. We're earning money for ourselves. And that, I think, makes a huge difference just as the mentality of how we go to work every day.
Yeah, so it gets sensitive when you start talking about the caveats, right? And so if you're on my side of the table and you've got somebody that's looking at an ESOP, I mean, love the idea. And when you're vested and you're able to get your hands on that money, I think it gives you a different kind of feeling of power and influence than when you're earning your way through that window. So without getting into too much detail, what is that process like of saying to somebody, look, you're going to be a part of this. You're going to be an owner, but it's going to take a certain amount of time until you're fully vested.
Well, they don't have to do anything to earn that. They just have to show up and chop wood, show up every day and do their job and do it great. And the ESOP is a gift. They don't have to pay for it. They don't have to invest anything in it. And they're not earning any more or any less compensation plans or just like any other independent mortgage banker. So they're not giving anything up, but they're getting everything over the long term.
Yeah. So you've been there a lot of years. You guys celebrated 34 years recently. I want to share just a little post because that's what an accomplishment for you to be around so many years through so much adversity,
We've had
right?
some cycles.
Yeah, and you think back to 2003. I guess we had just gotten through 9/11, right? And you were starting to cruise in 2005 and 6, and then we got the financial crisis, right? And then you got out of that finally, and then we had COVID, obviously. What were those moments like for you, and what did you learn about leadership in them?
One of the great gifts in my life is working here and being able to be mentored under our founder, Mike Hardwick. And one of the things that Mike did is he poured into me in enormous ways, especially during those cycles of when things were tough. And just to be able to learn with somebody that cares about you and you care about and have a great respect for has been a real gift to me. It's behind one of my core convictions of being the expert. You got to be humble enough to get mentors in your life to help lead you through those seasons that they've been through and you haven't yet. And so that's been a real gift. But those times were tough. Thankfully, we've always been a debt-free company. And so one of the things, when we founded the company, we made a commitment to stay away from debt, if at all possible. And we've been able to do that. And so when you see major downturns in the market, we're not struggling to pay interest. We're not struggling to keep up with any sort of debt service. We're just managing it like you'd manage your own household on cash and being conservative through those times. And thank goodness we have been.
Yeah, certainly it's good to not have a lot of debt, especially when things get lean. And they've been lean. And I know that you guys put a lot of emphasis on tech. We've had conversations in the past. Obviously, your people take precedence, and that's your number one priority. And we'll get a lot into that. But we're in a moment here where companies are trying to figure out, and there's a larger premium being put on efficiency and on pushing down that cost to produce. What are some things that you're doing there that make you feel like you're heading in the right direction?
Well, we've worked with some offshore labor for quite some time, and it's worked really well in some spots, and it hasn't worked great in others, but it's helped us drive down some of the costs of our business. We're deploying internally developed AI solutions that have proven to give us some nice lift. And, you continue to work on those things. The problem with technology, if you chase it, especially there's an unlimited amount of resources and tools available to you in the marketplace. And you can chase enough of those to the point where it creates great inefficiency in your business. We've all probably been in seasons when we've done that, but you learn from that. And I think the beautiful thing about AI right now is that the deployment cycle and the development cycle can be so quick. And so we can test a lot of things in a small way, make sure we're going to get the impact that we're anticipating, and then roll it out in a much larger way. And so that whole development, testing, implementation cycle is moving at a pace that allows us, you, and the rest of us to try new things and use the ones that work and scrap the ones that don't.
Opinions vary on the impact that AI will have. Will it replace people? Will it just help to complement people?
Yeah.
Where do you line up on that?
Greg, I don't think AI will replace people. I mean, there are things that you and I and our companies do with families that while AI might be able to do it and replace it, it can't replace the connection. It can't replace the deep questioning. It can't replace getting into the relationship to discover what families really needs and come up with solutions that meet those needs. To some degree, it can have a major disruption, but I do believe, at least for us, that the human connection, the human engagement is going to be needed in our business for quite some time.
You and I are in agreement there for sure, but yet we're still seeing so many huge bets being made on innovation and technology and this idea that push button, get mortgage, I don't know, 3.0, 5.0, 10.0, wherever we are in that evolution is going to be a big disruptor. How do you prepare for that? Or do you just take it day by day?
I think you can do both, right? One, you can't ignore it. And so one of the things that we try to do is align with it that in such a way that it'll enhance who we are and how we deliver value to the client. If we try to fight it and ignore it, we'll get sped right past. And so I think what you do is you align with it and let it create more of you and be able to reach more people and expand your reach and abilities instead of trying to just fight it and say it's not worth it. There's tons of great technology that helps us be better. And don't we all want to just be better?
Yeah, of course. What's a tech partner out there that's moving the needle for you? Put you on the spot here.
Most of the tech that we've done that I would say is moving the needle for us internally has been our internal development. We've got a great group of coders that are doing stuff on the process side that's really been important. Incelerate is a CRM platform that's got some nice embedded AI functionality, and it meets the needs of our business really nicely. And so that's going to be a needle mover for us as well.
So when I read about you and did a little research, quite a fascinating journey. You were not a person that always leaned into faith. There were some pivotal moments in your life that shaped who you are today. Take us back to the early years of Matt Clarke, the road that you were headed down, and what took you down a path of greater faith.
I've always believed in God, but I really didn't know what that meant. I mean, I went through high school and college, like I think a lot of just fun, loving, hardworking, want to, just enjoy my life. If it had a ball or blonde hair, I was interested. If it didn't, I really wasn't. I was a fine student, got through school. I was smart enough to test well. And when I got working and I had a couple of kids, and life is hard, especially when you got young kids. And I remember sitting, being invited from one of the pastors. We took him to church, and one of the pastors asked me if I would teach Wednesday night. They saw how I interacted with the kids and their friends, and I said, I'd love to. So I started doing that, and then I realized I've never actually read the Bible. So I figured if I'm going to be responsible for teaching kids, I ought to start reading the Bible. And then it became a daily habit. And then I began to get mentors around me that believed in Christ, believed in God, would speak it unabashedly and help me through situations that I struggled with. And so I just started reading it in a way that I tried to understand how it applied, not just as a great historical account, but how does it apply to my life on a practical day-to-day basis? And I think that's when it really started to change for me.
Yeah. So that's a perfect introduction to this book.
Yeah.
Hope in the Grind. What is this? What do I have in my hand here? And what do you hope that people take away from it?
Yeah, that's a 90-day daily devotional. And it's full of my life and my life's experiences and some other stories that I've pulled, filtered through the lens of the gospel with the intent to pull something out of it that provides encouragement, hope, learning for every one of us that get up every day, go to work, grind it out, and run into real issues and real life. And so I think it's an easy read. I hope people pick it up and begin to start their own journey in discovering, in my opinion, how God helps them through that grind of life and work.
Yeah.
Just an everyday guy going to work and sharing what he's learning as he filters his life through God's word.
Yeah. So you're openly faith-driven in a secular industry, right? So have there been moments where that identity cost you business, and was it worth it?
Great question, actually. I don't know that I can put my finger on if that identity cost us business. I am sure that there were people that we've talked to, recruits and whatnot, that have decided that it's not necessarily in alignment with their beliefs and they were worried about it. But we don't pound people upside the head with it. I mean, where the writing in the book originated from was back in 2019 as we started to grow beyond my ability to walk into any office in the company and know people by name, know their husband, know their kids. We grew beyond my ability to do that. And so I started communicating with the company. I figured if I can't know everybody the way I want them to know me. And so I started writing, and I practiced being vulnerable with people, right? I'm not perfect. I screw up a lot. So do you. And I feel like vulnerability is just one of those secret sauces that connects other people to you. So I tried to start doing that in my writing. And then I started filtering in what I was learning through my reading. and started sharing that. And once COVID hit, I went from, writing several times a week to trying to do it 4 or 5 times, if not every day. And I've been doing it ever since. And for me, not pounding people upside the head to believe what I believe, but simply sharing what I'm benefiting from my beliefs is different than preaching. And I don't want to be a preacher. I want to help people.
So you talk about vulnerability and not being perfect.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. Vulnerability in personal life and vulnerability in business, I think are two different things. What pushes you to the edge more?
I don't separate. At the end of the day, Greg, there was a season of my life when I tried to be the perfect person at work, and this perfect person teaching at school, and this perfect person running a sports league or coaching teams, and the perfect husband and the perfect dad. And quite frankly, I had all these different personas I was trying to juggle, and I was never really good at all of them or any of them. What that ended up for me was some real difficult seasons with my boys. I went through divorce. We've had plenty of ups and downs professionally in business. And I decided, specifically when I started working here, again, I mentioned Mike earlier, one of the things he gave me permission to be was me. And whatever that is. And so I stopped trying to be different professionally and personally. I am who I am. And so when you talk about vulnerability, my scars I wear, for everyone to see. And
why don't you tell us a story about one of those scars and how you hope that it would inspire someone else?
Sure. I mean, one scar is divorce. So many people go through divorce. So that's a little bit different.
Well, I know, but it is stay on that if you would for a minute, because marriage is hard, man.
Oh,
I'm married. I've been married 18 years. It's not easy. It's not easy. Kids make it harder. It is, you got to really work at it.
Continue.
So, I mean, I think that everybody out there, one way or another, can relate from whatever story you can share about that. So if you would.
Yeah. So, all right. If we're thinking about marriage, I got a couple of different stories. One, I knew early on in my first marriage that it wasn't going to last. And we grinded it out for almost 20 years. And then she left. And about the same time, my kids left. And they were off to school, off to college. I was home alone, big house, sitting by myself. And I had to learn one important skill that I struggled with deeply, and that one, to be still. The evenings I would come home and the house was empty and I just sat in stillness, and I learned how to like myself again. Because when somebody leaves, here I was a reasonably successful professional. I had 2 great kids, make decent money, provided a great life. Why would anybody leave? And it really starts to cause you to question who you are and your value. And that's super difficult. And so I made the decision that I was going to learn how to be still for a little bit and work and manage the pain, because I didn't know how to do that up to that point. I can remember one night I was out at a hockey game, go Nashville Predators. So much fun, playoff hockey. And I had a good time. Drank too much, got in my big truck, and rolled it into the woods on my way home. Woke up upside down in that truck, totaled, kicked my way out of the windshield. Thankfully, I was alive. And I just discovered the massive impact of grace on my life. I remember a couple of moments there that were really hard. One, I lived. And if you saw the accident and the scene, you'd be surprised. Second, I went into work the next couple of days, and I had to tell Mike, founder of our company, my boss, my mentor, what had happened, fully expecting that to be a blemish on my professional ability to lead the company any longer. I got love. I got encouragement, and I got support. Then I remember a year or so later, met this woman, hit it off, asked her out, went to pick her up, and she got in my truck, a new one at that time. And I had an Intoxilock. You have to breathe into it in order for it to start. And she climbs in the truck, and I'm thinking, well, I might as well tell her right up front, because if she's gonna, this could be a deal breaker for her. And I said, I got something to tell you. And she looked at me really scared. She was like, what? I was like, I got a DUI, a while back, and I got for a while still got to use this to start the vehicle. And she kind of gave me this look like I was crazy for thinking that was going to be a big deal to her. She said, is that it? And we've been married now 8 years, and it's been awesome. And so I think one of the things that I had to get comfortable with is that my life is bumpy, just like everybody else's. And because of that, I can be an effective person in relationship with other people as long as I'm not ashamed of it.
That's pretty real and raw. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so you've been given a lot of grace, and you use it to motivate you to then give it to others. And I don't know why I'm thinking about this in my head right now, but I've seen Les Miserables like 12 times. And there's a scene there.
The live play or the movie?
I've seen the play 11, 12 times. I've seen the movie a bunch of times. It's The Thing That Me and My Dad Did.
Yeah.
And there's Jean Valjean, steals a loaf of bread, and he should have been. He had previous transgressions, and he was just trying to feed his family, and this man of the church gave him a break when he was expecting his life to end, and he used that moment to guide him for the rest of his life. And then he ended up living a life of giving and of grace to others. It's really powerful. Have you seen the play, Les Mis?
I have not seen the play. I've seen the movie.
Yeah, I'll say that based on what you're telling me, it would move you.
Oh,
Maybe we'll see it together.
I love it. We love going to shows. It's one of my favorite things to do. I grew up in Massachusetts, and I had a grandmother who lived outside of Manhattan in Bronxville, New York. And anytime I would go up there, we'd go see a show on Broadway, and I just loved it.
We're in Massachusetts. I don't hear an accent. You got rid of it somehow.
I did. Well, I've been in Tennessee for now almost 35 years.
Yeah, but most people can't shake that Massachusetts accent. What part of Mass?
Sturbridge, Mass. So I was about an hour west of Boston on the south central side, right on the Connecticut border. So it was really
you root for the Sox, the Titans. Who do you affiliate with professionally?
One, I see your number 12 Rogers jersey behind you, and I think he's an awesome player. He's an imposter with that number because Brady's the only one that should wear that number. So I'm clearly a Patriots fan. Yeah, I love the Red Sox. I've always have. I mean, I've grew up on Boston sports, but I shamefully will admit, I'm sure my family will disown me for saying this. Some of my favorite ball players of all time are Yankees, and I was raised to hate the evil empire. But
yeah, so I mean, you're talking about the era of Bucky Dent.
Bucky Dent. Reggie Jackson was on the Yankees. I mean, you name it. He was
Fred Lynn on the Red Sox.
Carl Yastrzemski was always my favorite.
I understand why. He could be one hell of a hitter.
But I always was partial to Jerry Remy. Jerry Remy was our really short second baseman. Yeah. And when I played ball, I was really short. I couldn't reach first base from anywhere but the second base position. And so he was always one of my heroes.
Well, you said when you played ball, you were always really short. When you stopped playing ball, were you really tall?
No, I'm still
Nothing
really
changed.
short, Greg. Thanks
Yeah.
for pointing that
Well,
out.
yeah, well, listen, you and I, we could borrow each other's everything,
Well,
right? Although I could use a little more of your grace. I'm not going to lie to you. Jerry Remy was the longtime color analyst for
was.
the Red Sox network.
It
I want to go
was.
back to the book here because I don't want to leave this conversation without people having a really good feel for the book and why they should get it. And you talk about 6 core convictions in this book.
Yep.
Serving others, working hardest, being the expert, leaving people better, doing the next right thing, and mornings matter.
Yeah.
So I know it's like asking you to separate your 6 children here, right? You love them all the same,
Yeah.
but if you had to maybe organize this in a way that really stood out to people, a couple of these activities that you can't live without to be on the right path, what would they be?
Well, I don't know that you can live without any of them, first of all, because they are structured to be a complete set for me of guidelines to filter my life through their convictions. I want to be that, but I would take the bookends as the most important. Serve others without exception, right? We're created to be in service of others. I remember when I wrote that, I started thinking about who was worthy of my service. And I realized that's a pretty arrogant thing to think. Everybody is. I don't get to choose who I serve. I get to choose how I serve them. Part of serving others, if you look at the rest of the list, all will contribute to your ability to bring value and serve other people. And then you look at the last one, mornings matter. I'm a morning routine guy. I have been for decades. And every single morning I do the same thing. I get up and I read, I write, I journal, I'll pray, and I exercise. And there hasn't been a day that I can recall for probably a couple of decades that I haven't done that. If I have a 6 a.m. flight, I'll get up at 3 o'clock. I'll knock that all out in about 30 minutes. If it's in my normal schedule, I can take 3 hours in the morning. If I can get up early enough, I can control what time I get up. I can control what I do with the first minutes or hours of the day. I can't control much else. So if I want to be consistent in taking care of myself, I have to do it first. And the reason that's important to me, Greg, is that one, I'm better because of it. And my family deserves my best. You deserve my best. My teammates deserve my best. This community deserves my best. And if I'm not getting up and creating structure in my life that puts my best out into the world, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah, I'm big on that too. Getting up in the morning, getting the day started, working out, because it sets the tone for the rest of the day. If you get up feeling good, like you poured into yourself, even if it's just a little bit, you're going to want to eat healthy. You start I find the most productive hours are 7:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. And then I got to hold it together the rest of the day. So I'm in here in this seat most days at 7:30. I drop my kid off at the bus stop. I go right into the office. I have a home gym. I work out between 6 and 7, and I just get moving. So I can totally relate to that. So you broke this book down. It couldn't have been easy because you've got thousands of things that you've written. I'm on your email distribution list. So I've seen the beautiful things that you put out into the universe. There are a couple things that stand out to me among the 90 chapters. One of them is a market problem, and how when things get tough, people tend to look at the market, and in here, you talk about how it's not the market problem, it's doing the work problem. And that the bottom line is that if you want to grow, you need to get in front of more people, be able to deliver something of value to them, and provide a key level of care they remember. So yeah, for sure, because I see it today. Like, we have producers here at NFM that are going to do 200 million this year, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got producers that once did 60, 70 million that are struggling to hang on to 15 million at this point. And the ones that are doing the work are getting it done. Now, that's obvious to me. Let's peel this back a couple of layers and let me ask you, why is it you think, is it just human nature that people get comfortable and they're not? Because if you did double down on the work as you've laid out right here all the time, you would constantly be growing. What is that phenomenon in your eyes?
A pandemic of excuse. We were on a coaching call last week with a couple of our producers that were really top producers, and we were working through some systems that we're using to help them do some kind of judgment-free role playing using AI as leveraging AI to kind of give feedback on presentation and scripts and, having communication back and forth. And one of the guys says, I really try not to come across and try to go into these conversations too scripted. I just don't want to be too scripted. And I remember his manager was on this call. He said, I need to call you out on that. It's not that you don't want to be too scripted. It's that you don't want to do the work to be so well scripted, you can come across unscripted. And I can recall listening to a story by a friend, an author, Andy Andrews. And he was talking about how he first started doing stand-up. And he was talking about not wanting to kind of get it in too much of a routine. And he had a mentor in his life. And he said, Andy, because he talked about Robin Williams. He said, Robin Williams always shows up. And the way he does stand-up and the way he did comedy just always felt like he was doing it for you for the very first time. It just came across like off the cuff, wild. He said, I want to do that. And his mentor said, Andy, the reason he can do that is because he's done that bit 10,000 times. He's done it 100 times in the last 2 weeks. He's got it down pat so that he knows it so well. He's done so much of the work. He's worked so hard at it. He can come across like it's totally the first time, uniquely designed for you. And so when I think about doubling down on just doing the work, you said it. We got people that are willing to do the work and have done the work over time. They're not just, oh God, it's a tough market. Let me get in and start doing the work. They've been doing the work. They've been planting the seed. They've been being the expert. They've been developing their skills, their relationships, their partnerships, regardless of the market. So that when the market does turn down, they're one of the few that have a steady flow of business. And when the market turns up, they benefit greatly.
Yeah, that makes great sense. I'm wondering I would imagine your level of tolerance is really, really good and that you're extremely patient. But I think, maybe I'm wrong, we all have a point where we look across the table from somebody who's they're just not getting what we're saying, or you just can tell that you're more invested in them than they are in themselves. Mm-hmm. How do you approach moments like that? First of all, have you had them? I'm talking professionally, not personally. Like if you sat across the table from somebody that's underachieving, that continues to make the same mistakes, that's not picking up what you're dropping, and in your heart that this is just, it's not going to pay dividends like it would if I was sitting across from the table from someone that was vulnerable and open in the ways that you've described.
Another mentor of mine, Dave Ramsey, teaches clarity is kind. Clarity is kind. And so if you let somebody flounder and don't say anything and try to redirect them, you're actually being cruel to them. And so when you have to sit down with somebody and let them go, it should never be a surprise, because you would have already spoken to them several times about their performance and given them opportunities to improve. And when they don't take those opportunities to improve, that's not your decision, that's theirs. So you don't generally, the way I look at it is it's not my choice to fire them. They made the choice to be invited to do something somewhere else. I gave them the direction. I gave them the path. I gave them the choice. I gave them some time. They chose not to. That's their choice at this point, not mine. Yeah.
Appreciate that answer. So we're at the end here. What have I left on the table here, you think? What do you want to say in closing?
I simply would say in closing, life can be hard. Business is tough. Life can be awesome at the same time, right? But don't try to do it by yourself. Have people in your life that you're willing to share and talk with and be vulnerable with that can walk you through it. Read God's word. Everything you need to navigate whatever you're going through is right there. You just have to do the work. Take the time to dig in, read it, study it, filter it through what you're going through, and it'll speak back to you. At least it has for me. And whatever your religious beliefs, I think you're going to find this book in particular, and even my daily email, it's not engineered to pound you upside the head with religion. It's engineered to offer you perspective, encouragement, and hope. And I think that's something we all need.
Yeah. Can anybody get that letter every day? They
Yeah.
kind of wait for that. Okay. I'll get that information from you, and I'll include it in the comments. The book is Hope in the Grind, 90 Days of Biblical Encouragement for Faith, Work, and Life. Matt Clarke, President and COO of Churchill Mortgage, one of the longest tenured independent mortgage companies in America. You've got to be in the top 5, I would imagine. Do you know what that number is?
I have no
In terms
clue.
of, I mean, if you think about it, I think NFM's been around 28, 29 years. So we are definitely unicorns, and let's keep plugging along for the little people.
Let's keep that going for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Yeah, my pleasure. Continued success. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everyone. Take care.
Bye.